Hi, Anne-Marie, and welcome
Hi.
to the Cat and the Parrot. Right, big buzzword that seems to be starting to hit every DSL's desk at the moment is, or a phrase, protected characteristics. So, like any good DSL, I sat there thinking, right, what does that mean? Let's Google it. And I got a lovely diagram of all of the protected characteristics that we need to be aware of in schools. Just some examples: disability, race, gender, sexual orientation. They're just some of the examples. But suddenly now I can see in the inspectors list is that they're saying, are staff aware of what protected characteristics are? And are they making sure that all protected characteristics are being catered for and given every opportunity to excel? I can imagine over the summer, therefore, most DSLs are going to be sitting there thinking, would they, if an inspector asked my members of staff, would they know what protected characteristics means? Well, majority of them won't. But if you ask them, oh, what about gender? Oh, no, we don't discriminate. So once it's explained, they'd be okay. But then B, would the pupils know? And what do we do as a school? So that's going to be a big question for the summer.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that. So I've been doing a lot more so in the last 14 months, you can imagine, but also from obviously May last year about this subject, around it impacting on the well-being of children in the sense of inclusion, diversity. So in that conversation, there's lots of buzzwords on unconscious bias, there's D&I work, there's lots of stuff, isn't there? And in this conversation, it means, are you aware of the experiences of that child or that person who has that characteristic in the sense of them being included in your setting? So are you aware, for example, of that child in their kind of gender identity, for example, even trans, that whole thing about intersectionality is another word that we're using in this conversation. So it's really interesting that we have to, because, for example, whether it's I'm a woman, I'm a young woman, a middle-aged woman, really, menopausal too, but we won't go on that.
So protected characteristics.
No. I know, right? No, it's not. But hey, I just thought I'd share that. So ageism, age, my gender, some are voluntary, some are not. Hence, you can see me, brown skin, curls, gender, but do identify with that gender, all those things.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, really important that staff have to sit back, reflect and think about, do my staff recognize, for example, what it means? So I had a conversation with the setting the other day about, for example, gender and gender discrimination in the sense of toxic masculinity, toxic femininity. Have you heard of that word, Kerry? Toxic femininity.
No, but interestingly, apparently I was called Hitler on heels the other day. So I feel that maybe I fit into that little category. I know.
Sorry.
Laugh, wow, otherwise I can't get through it. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay. So maybe that's what they mean. So toxic femininity I heard the other day. And in this conversation about protective characteristics, the thin line between all of these things that are happening, these buzzwords, and what does it mean for us in our schools about raising the awareness, educating, and actually it going back to safeguarding about the well-being and how that person feels safe, hence safe in your environment. So I thought I'd say that because for some people, absolutely, we will think about putting on more discussions about this because it is a very sensitive subject. You don't want to offend people, but at the same time, our language is important too. So even the word woman, I've learned that you can't call every woman a lady because not all women identify as ladies. Okay, I'm more a woman than a lady. Do you understand? And some people don't appreciate you can offend a woman by calling her a lady.
So what is a lady? What's
a lady would be more feminine. A lady would be proud to, in the sense of femininity. So I know some women that are cis in the sense of CIS, which would mean they're kind of more neutral in the sense of a woman rather than a feminine woman. Hence, we take for granted women, ladies are feminine, aren't they? In the sense of being a lady in handbag and a lady. So I thought I'd mention that as an example of how we need to be aware of language. And even when I say, come on, guys, sometimes in training, I don't say that anymore because I'm aware that I'm offending people. So it's about people having that conversation, even spokesperson. When I go breakout rooms now, I say nominate a spokesperson to feedback because I don't say spokesman, so all those little things come into it. intersectionality, and I call it also gender equality. I call it lots of equalities, in the sense of, in your setting, how are you ensuring that every person, hence the person, feels part of your environment and able to express a concern, or able to express if they felt they were treated differently. And that's what the objective is, I think, in this kind of discussion.
And you've got to be careful, because if I started to do protected characteristics training, I could see some staff not feeling defensive, but feeling defensive, and maybe going, oh God, have I done something wrong already? And then they almost shut down. And so any training I've delivered after that, they won't pick up, because all they'll be worried about is that they've said something wrong. So when you deliver the training or try to get people to think, we've got to do it in a very sensitive way. We're not blaming people for their opinions or how they might have talked some or told someone, that a group that they're called guys. We've got to kind of include people and bring them with us, not ostracize and say, you've done that wrong, therefore you never say that again. It's got to be that way, hasn't it?
It's got to be very sensitive, but in a way where we're up to date and modern in these times, because I think I've seen over the last 5 years the conversations we've had with of equality, you know, in the sense of gender equality in settings, hence boys and girls toys and all that stuff, you know, in the sense of gender neutral. You know, remember years ago we had unisex toilets, didn't we, and gender neutral toilets. So we started this conversation a while back, and I just think we need to just now adjust that conversation to other protective characteristics, in the sense of, in your setting, there's going to be children and families who identify with all those characteristics. And how have you, so what we've got to be remembered, this is a really important quote. I need to quote a lot when people give me the token kind of tick box. If you are a diverse community, are you inclusive? That's the difference. Because I get people bragging, oh yeah, we're very diverse, but I can't see you're inclusive. Do you understand? So you might have people at the table, but are they talking? You might have people in your setting, but are you hearing their voices? Are you hearing what they've got to say about their lived experiences of how they have had things happen in your own setting that they're not able to say because they're in fear of? Do you understand? Whether it's staff, whether it's parents, whether it's children, are you aware of some people have certain privileges over all those people? You know, and you know, is it kind of, I think they talk about it being the white middle class able-bodied male, don't they, in that sense? So there's a lot, and we don't want that person to then think, you know, you're looking at me, it's not fair, I can't help it. It's about being an ally and understanding what are we doing to actually bring everybody else in, connecting with everybody rather than actually pointing fingers.
I think the word inclusive is an odd word, and I think perhaps we should talk about that a little bit later on, because I do feel that sometimes some schools get confused with the word inclusive. But I think you're right, it's that protected space of being able to feel that you can express your opinion and be heard. That's really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, thanks for the chat.
No problem. See you next time.
Bye.